Welcome to the Pointy End. I'm Keith Sutherland. Today my guest is Zac Sheehan. Zac, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Keith.
Now, I understand a little bit about your history is that when you were 6 months old, you were diagnosed with retinal dystrophy, which is a blindness. Now, so you're totally blind, basically. Is that right with this condition?
Yeah, what I can see is I can see light and dark out of the corner of my eye. I used to be able to see. I used to have peripheral vision.
Okay.
So what that meant was I could see colours and shapes, but that's slowly diagnosed, and that was gone when I was 10.
Okay.
So now it's just light and dark.
So we're about 2 metres away. You can't actually see me.
No.
You can hear me. That's it.
Yep.
That's probably okay. That you're probably better hearing me than seeing me anyway.
Yeah.
Now, I understand you went to primary school in Bendigo, Comet Hill and Kalgoorlie.
Yes, I did.
And then you went on to Aruna College, and then you did years 7 to 10 no, it wasn't quite 7 to 10, but years to the Bendigo Senior Secondary College where...
Yeah, I did my year 11 and 12 up at Bendigo Senior Secondary.
And what sort of course did you finalise at your senior secondary?
So I did my VCE up there, as well as doing my VCE, I did a vet course.
Okay.
So that aligned with, it's called Vet Sport Recreation.
Yeah, right.
So that's in the sporting field. Virtually what it does is in the first year you do a 1-2 course. The second year you do your 3-4. And that can lead you on to either TAFE or uni. You go and do your masters or your degree in the sports field. And that eventually can get you into...
So maybe sports administration and things like that.
Sports administration and all that along that lines.
That's really interesting that a blind person got so involved in sport, and I would have thought that, okay, you can get involved in the other aspects of it, but leading on from that, I understand that you started playing blind cricket at the age of 14. Now, that's a pretty unique sort of thing to do, that someone that's pretty much, well, you are blind, legally blind, to go into cricket. So how does a person play cricket when you're blind? It sort of amazes me.
Yeah, well, what happened, Keith, was when I was 14, so I'll tell you a bit, I followed my brother and dad around. They've played cricket all their life.
Okay.
Here
in Bendigo, basically?
Bendigo and Melbourne.
Okay.
My dad played 20-odd years of sub-district down in Melbourne.
Well, he must have been pretty good then.
Yeah, he used to train with the Vic under-19 boys.
Okay.
So he faced like Shane Hayward in the nets.
Wow. Glad it was him and not me.
Yeah, so I was used to playing red ball. Anyway, when I was 14, I had my captain of my club now at the moment, his name is Daniel Pritchard. He lost his side at the same time at 14. And he told me, he said, we'll get you into cricket. So I went down for a trial, went and had a train, and virtually just grabbed it by the hands, played in the first year. We lost in the grand final, unfortunately, in that first year. And then all of a sudden I've just kept going. So I go to Melbourne, travel to Melbourne every Saturday in the summer. We play from normally the first weekend in October till the last weekend just before Christmas. And then we normally have a break until about mid-Jan and go right through till the grand finals played on the long weekend in March. So normally the last round is between the 28th of February and 3rd of that first weekend in March.
Just run it past me, because for a bowler, you've got a wicket keeper.
Yep.
It's all by sound, is it, basically?
Yeah, so what I'll tell you is there's 3 different categories. And the way they do it is they do it on your disability. So you have a form that you take to your local doctor, and they'll do a ophthalmologist and a test on your eyes and fill in the paperwork, and that will mark you off on what category you go under.
Right.
The 3 categories are totally blind, which is what I am myself, Then you've got a B2 who's got peripheral vision. So the B2's got tunnel vision, so they can't see. They can see between, say, you and me, with the tunnel vision.
Yep.
But if you're on their left or right, they wouldn't see you. So they can't see out the side. And a B3, sorry, they've got the most vision. So they're like a 60-60 sort of. They don't have enough to drive, but they've got enough to not have to use like a cane or a guide dog. So they can get around pretty easy.
Now I understand that you've played cricket for Australia, represented Australia and New Zealand, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that right? And you've just played a fairly major competition as well.
Yeah, I 2 years ago, so I was halfway through. I was going through year 11 at the time, up at Bendigo Senior, and got a call around about mid-June from one of our coaches, and he said, "Look," he said, "you've got potential to represent Australia." So he said, "I'd like you to come across to New Zealand with us." So there was about 15 of us that went across. Not the January that just went, the one before.
Okay.
We went across to New Zealand and represented our country in, I suppose you would call it as a second 11. So a development Australian team. And we beat New Zealand 6-0.
It's always nice to beat the New Zealanders.
And then as I was doing my VCE in year 12, around about June again, the same time, I got a call from the same bloke, the same coach again. So he's our Victorian head-based coach. And I got invited to a training camp up in Brisbane. This was the first training camp. We had 2 training camps to see who would make the squad for the Ashes. So our Ashes is our version of the Ashes. And I got through the first camp, and then got another email around about August to say I'd been invited to the second one. I went up to Brisbane again in the September holidays. Got through that, and went to Adelaide and represented my country. I got my baggy green for the first time, which is a great feeling.
Must make you fairly proud getting that's for sure.
Yeah, as a bloke from the country who's not, I turn 19 next week. Wow. So it's a pretty good feeling to actually be able to get your baggy green by 19.
That's great. What do you excel at? Your batting, bowling? What's your strengths?
Well, at the moment, before I went to New Zealand, I was a batter. So they took me over as an extra batsman, mainly. Unfortunately, I didn't perform the best. I got given out an iffy decision. As you are as a batsman, you always say they're iffy.
How do you know that?
Unfortunately, apparently it came off the toe of my bat straight into the keeper's gloves. Just trying to defend one down towards third man to get off the mark, and went out for a dirty duck.
Oh, that's no good.
So, but then I bowled 8 overs in New Zealand, and the coaches took me aside at the end of it and said, we want to turn you into a bowler. So I'm virtually an all-rounder, but I'm better at, I like batting more than bowling, only because I've only bowled out of the 4 years I've played, I've only bowled in the last 2 years.
Okay.
I actually kept the first 2 years.
So you're an absolute all-rounder. You're going to be the next Shane Watson doing all these things. Yeah. Now, moving on from your cricket career, which is obviously huge in your life and something you should be very proud of, and of course Bendigo people are very proud, and that's why you're on the program, because we didn't know a lot about you. Yeah. You also went to America as well. Tell us about that trip.
I went to America. I was in year 9 at Waruna College, Bendigo. So I was doing my studies there, and through a program through Melbourne, it was a program I was involved in. It was called Support Skills. So, and what that involved was every Friday once a month, you'd go to Melbourne. I'd go to Melbourne to develop it was like a reading and program for kids visually impaired that were all in state schools. So we all got together once a month. Right. And through that program, 4 of us put our hand up to go to America. So we had to fundraise $6,000. So I got that fairly easy through people that I knew around the town. And we jetted off, flew from Sydney. So flew from Melbourne to Sydney, and then flew out of Sydney. We landed in. So where did we go? We went to Alabama for a space camp for 7 days. So that involved us learning about how all the astronauts go to space.
That'd be pretty exciting.
It was very exciting. We did a 6-hour mission, and we had to be actual aliens. My role was to go out and test all the lighting and that out in the earth. So I was, we had all belts and all that, and I was floating and had to check all the lights and everything.
That's every kid's dream, being an astronaut and doing all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and then we went to New York. I actually got to go where Ground Zero happened.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
So that was very touching.
Yep.
I've told a lot of people that story, and it hits me when I tell them that story, because, as you'd know, you probably wouldn't, but going to somewhere where towers have been blown up and you're trying to imagine the amount of people that would have died in it. Yeah, it's just a very, very sad feeling.
It's a terrible. I was lucky enough to go a couple of years ago when they first opened the museum there at Ground Zero, so it's pretty impressive. So I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah,
so I went there, and then we went to did all the tourist things in New York, and I also went to Disneyland in LA. So we started off in LA. We had 5 days there. Went to Disneyland and Hollywood, and so that was the exciting part, as well as the space camp. The New York bit can get a bit.
It's a full-on place, that's for sure.
Full-on when you go there, and
you've done an amazing amount for an 18-year-old, nearly 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, since doing all these extra wonderful things, are you employed, or are you looking for employment at this stage? What's the situation?
At the moment, I'm currently unemployed.
Right.
I'm doing a course at TAFE at the moment. It's IT, so digital media technology.
So you'll be able to show us plenty of things to do here, Bendigo IPTV then.
I don't know about that. Slowly, I'm only doing the basic bit of IT, so...
So you're putting yourself out there, Access Employment are trying to find you a position at this stage, I understand.
Yes, I'm under Access, so they're trying their hardest. I'm trying my hardest to get any work.
Well, I'm sure a young fella like yourself that's had so much experience would be great for the workforce. Just outside of cricket, what else do you do on the local scene? Just bring it back to what cricket is in the summer, of course. What else do you do in the winter?
In the winter, I follow the Sandhurst Football Club around the community. So we start our season in a couple of weeks. Got Strathfield say round 1.
And then you'll get beaten by Golden Square when you come up against them.
I don't know about that, but we'll try and beat them. But yeah, hopefully it'll be an interesting year. So that's what I do in the footy.
And you've written down here that you also follow the Bombers, so they had a pretty poor start. And I'll have to ask you, what did you think about the drugs saga with Essendon? And do you think that they were hard done by the players, or should have James Hird been taken the rap a bit earlier? Or what's your opinion as an Essendon supporter?
I've been an Essendon supporter for about 10 years now, and
so you're not going to knock them?
It's going to be a tough year this year for the boys, but they know that. Look, I think the players are very, very... There was a lot done inside the club that I reckon that shouldn't have happened. Hird was a good player, but I don't think he should have coached the club. A lot went on his shoulders because as a coach of an AFL club, I think you need to know what your players are doing. And so therefore...
Very good advice, in my opinion.
Therefore, I think they've been hard done. But Johnny Worsfold's a very good coach, and he'll get them through the year. They'll have a tough year, but we'll win 1 or 2 here and there. And then get other boys back hopefully next year and go stronger.
Well, Zac, thank you so much for appearing on the program today. For a person with a disability, legally blind, you've done some amazing things. You've still got a career ahead of you with cricket and everything else you're doing, and certainly it must be very proud of all the things that you've done and achieved at your young age. So I really appreciate you appearing on the program today.
Thank you very much, Keith. Thanks for inviting me in for today on the program.
It's our pleasure.
It's been enjoyable talking to you today, so thank you very much.